welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a topic that's probably on everyone's mind, making the most of your money.
Absolutely. It's a big one.
We've gathered a whole range of resources looking at how to save smarter and, grow your wealth more effectively.
Think of it like a financial shortcut.
Exactly. We're pulling insights from NerdWallet's big guide, some practical stuff from Bank of America, Fidelity on wealth building.
And Sky News, too, with a really current look at the UK savings scene.
Right. Our mission is basically to give you actionable knowledge without, hopefully, burying you in jargon.
Yeah, let's cut through the noise. We're going beyond just the basics, looking at strategies that can, really make a difference.
So first up is NerdWallet.
Yeah, they're how to save money. 28 ways. It's impressive. Covers a huge range, basic budgeting, debt stuff, right down to shopping tricks and cutting transport costs.
28 ways is quite a lot.
It is. And what's interesting, they found a lot of Americans save less than 20% of their income. So there's clearly need for this kind of advice.
Makes sense.
And NerdWallet's pretty rigorous editorially, so you can generally trust what they're saying.
Okay, good to know. So we'll dig into that. And then there's Bank of America's How to Start Saving Money. Sounds more foundational.
Yeah, it seems like it. They focus on those core habits, like really understanding where your money goes first.
Expense tracking.
Exactly. Then building a budget, setting goals, saving a regular thing each month. They even mention their online tools, which can help visualize it all.
Right, those visuals can be helpful.
And it really links back to what NerdWallet says, too, about that 50-30-20 rule.
Right.
Bank of America pushes for aiming for up to 20% savings.
Right.
The core message from both seems to be, first, you have to know your spending. No way around it.
Right. Awareness first.
That's the starting block, whatever budget method you end up using.
Gotcha. Okay, so then shifting gears a bit, Fidelity, their piece is how to make your money work for you. Sounds different.
It is. This is less about saving the money initially and more about growing what you've already put aside.
The investment side.
Precisely. Strategic investing, thinking long term. They really emphasize, time in the market, not trying to time it.
And avoiding panic selling when things get bumpy.
Exactly that. They talk about compounding, how your money starts making money itself over time. It's powerful stuff, but needs patience.
Definitely. And Fidelity stresses that just leaving cash sitting there, well, it doesn't really grow, does it?
Not usually, no.
Yeah.
Especially with inflation, they point towards things like high-yield savings or brokerage accounts where you can actually invest.
Okay, so saving is step one, growing is step two.
Kinda, yeah. They work together.
And finally, Sky News. Savings Guide. How to make the most of your cash after rate cut. Very specific.
Yeah. This gives us that snapshot of the UK market right now, or well, as of early May 2025.
Okay.
They mentioned the Bank of England cut the base rate and what that means for savers.
So rates might be dropping.
That's the trend they're highlighting. So they talk about easy access accounts, tax-free cash ISAs in the UK, fixed rate bonds.
And they give specific rates.
They do, yeah. From specific banks as of May 6th. And crucially, they explain how tax impacts your returns over there.
The tax angle is important.
Hugely important in the UK context. They compare a standard savings account after tax versus a tax-free ISA, and sometimes the ISA wins even with a slightly lower headline rate.
Interesting. Okay, so lots of different angles. Let's try and pull out some core themes. Budgeting and tracking seem universal, right? Both NerdWallet and Bank of America hit that hard.
Absolutely. NerdWallet mentions the 50-30-20 framework, 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings debt, but also other methods.
And setting specific goals, using apps.
Right. And Bank of America just hammers home. Track first, use a spreadsheet, use an app, whatever works, but know the numbers.
It's the foundation, like you said.
Can't manage what you don't measure, basically.
Okay. So once you know where it's going, how do you actually save more? What strategies came up?
Well, NerdWallet had some simple ones like count your spare change, maybe not huge, but it adds up. More significantly, high-yield savings accounts.
Getting a better interest rate.
Exactly. And automating transfers. That came up in Bank of America, too.
Set it and forget it.
Pretty much. Bank of America also mentioned things like credit card rewards or those roundup programs some banks offer.
Okay. And Sky News had actual examples of high-yield accounts.
They did for the UK market. Mentioned SHIP and Sidekick around 4.76% AER for easy access.
AER, that's the annual equivalent rate. Takes compounding into account.
That's the one. And for easy access ISAs, Plum and Moneybox were just over 5%, though these rates change, obviously.
Of course. But the takeaway is, look for better rates. Automate if you can.
Definitely. Explore those options. Don't just leave savings in a standard account earning next to nothing.
Good point. Now, NerdWallet also talked about debt, didn't they? Paying off high-interest debt as a way to free up cash for saving.
Yes, that's a crucial link. Paying down expensive debt, like credit cards, is almost like getting a guaranteed return. You're saving all that interest.
Right, so it frees up money you're spending on interest payments.
Exactly. They mentioned looking at student loan options too, or even mortgage refinancing. Basically, reducing your debt load helps your savings potential.
It makes sense. Okay, what about trimming everyday costs? Monthly bills.
Oh yeah, NerdWallet had a ton here. Planning groceries with lists, coupons.
Usual suspects.
Yeah, but also looking hard at TVinternet packages. Do you really need everything? Switching mobile plans, cutting electricity use.
Smart thermostats, insulation.
And the big one, canceling subscriptions you don't use.
Ah, the subscription trap.
Yeah.
Bank of America mentioned that too, right? Reviewing recurring charges.
They did. And just generally cutting back on wants and finding free fun.
So the practical tip is
Yeah.
actually look at your bank statement this month. Find one thing to cut.
That's a great starting point. Just one.
Okay, shopping habits. NerdWallet had some interesting ideas.
Yeah, like planning big purchases around sales, using the 30-day rule for non-essentials.
Wait 30 days before buying something you want but don't need.
Exactly. See if you still want it. Helps curb impulse buys.
I like that. What else?
Making online shopping harder, like don't save your card details. Stocking up on staples when they're cheap. Trying thrift stores.
Getting creative with gifts instead of just buying stuff.
Right, and using things like Free Cycle or Buy Nothing groups. Find free stuff.
It's about being more mindful, isn't it? Less impulsive.
Absolutely. Thinking before you spend.
Okay, and then transport and entertainment. More savings there.
NerdWallet thought so. Lowering car costs maybe refinancing the loan, shopping around for insurance.
Using less gas planning errands better. Keeping the car maintained.
Maybe car sharing. And cutting back on eating out or finding deals when you do.
Using rewards programs, maybe sharing entrees.
Yeah. And finding free or cheap entertainment community events, free museum days.
It all adds up, I guess. Small changes.
That's the idea. Cumulative effect.
Okay, so that's a lot on the savings side. Let's swing back to fidelity and that growth perspective. Making money work for you.
Right. Their big point. Don't just hoard cash. Keep it somewhere. It can potentially grow faster than inflation.
Like high-yield savings, brokerage accounts, cash management accounts.
Exactly, because cash alone just sits there, or even loses value in real terms.
And they talked about time in the market, compounding.
Crucial concepts. Compounding is that snowball effect, earnings generating more earnings, but it takes time.
So don't panic during downturns.
They strongly advise against that. Trying to time the market is usually a losing game, and you risk missing the best recovery days.
Fidelity also mentioned tax efficiency, right? Things like tax loss harvesting.
That's selling losing investments to offset gains elsewhere, tax-wise. A bit more advanced.
And using tax-advantaged accounts.
Yeah, like HSAs, health savings accounts, or Roth IRAs where money can grow tax-free in the U.S.,
Yeah.
even municipal bonds for tax-exempt interest.
So thinking about where you hold your investments matters for tax.
Definitely. It's called asset location. They also stress automating investing, not just saving, like contributions to employer plans or HSAs.
Ties back to automation again.
It does. And rebalancing your portfolio regularly, diversifying.
Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Classic advice, yeah. To manage risk.
They had some interesting points about jobs, too, like looking at the whole compensation package.
Right, not just salary. Consider the retirement plan match, any HSA contributions, stock options.
And thinking about vesting schedules, like when do those benefits actually become yours?
Yeah, calculating the cost if you leave before you're fully vested, it could be significant.
Good point. And never abandon old accounts.
So important. Roll over those old 401ks or pensions. Don't leave money on the table. Check for unclaimed property, too.
Okay, good financial housekeeping. Now, back to Sky News and the UK rate cut situation.
Right. So the Bank of England base rate dropped and savings rates are following.
Meaning it's harder to get a good return?
Generally, yes. So Sky News discusses fixed-rate bonds locking in a rate for 1 to 5 years.
Because those rates might drop further.
That's the implication. They noted some top offers were already pulled. Mentioned JN Bank had decent longer-term bonds as of early May.
So maybe act faster if you want to fix a rate.
That seems to be the advice. Same for fixed-rate ISAs. They listed top rates there, too.
And the crucial ISA tax advantage.
Yes, they gave that example. A 4.55% taxable bond might only yield 3.64% after basic rate tax, but a 4.56% ISA is tax-free.
So the ISA could actually pay more in your pocket.
Often, yes. But they do say if you don't pay tax or you're within your personal savings allowance, the taxable account might still be better. You need to check your own situation.
Understood. Important nuance there. Finally, what if someone is really struggling to save anything?
NerdWallet had a section on seeking help, exploring government assistance, contacting local social services via resources like 211.org in the U.S.
And talking to lenders.
Yeah, reaching out to lenders or service providers about payment assistance if you're falling behind. Don't suffer in silence.
Absolutely. Good advice. Okay, so wrapping this all up, quite a journey.
It really is.
It seems like saving and growing money starts with, well, awareness, budgeting, tracking, knowing where you stand.
Definitely step one. Then it's about being proactive, automating savings, chasing better rates, tackling debt.
And being mindful about spending, cutting bills, smarter shopping.
And then for the long haul, making that money grow through strategic investing.
And for UK listeners, understanding the current rate environment and those ISA tax benefits is key.
Absolutely vital right now.
So the takeaway isn't to do everything at once, right?
Definitely not. Pick one or two things that jumped out at you today. Maybe review your budget or check if you have any unused subscriptions you can cancel.
We'll look up some high-yield savings rates.
Yeah. Or if you're in the UK, maybe compare your current savings rates to the ones Sky News mentioned. Just take one small step.
Okay. So one final thought for everyone listening to mull over. Considering all these different ways to save and grow your money we've talked about, what's one specific area you feel most, inspired or curious to explore further in your own financial life?
That's a good question to leave people with. What's your next focus?